This is gonna be the last episode of my Declutter series, and this is gonna be on my eyeshadow palettes. I have so many eyeshadow palettes, so many beautiful indie eyeshadow palettes, but also drugstore, also some mainstream. We're gonna go through everything, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna keep. I'm just gonna move some things out of the way, and we're just gonna go per brand. Okay, first brand is gonna be Flower Nose. I do have quite a few things from Flower Nose, and I also have some things from Flower Nose that I got in PR. A lot of the things I bought myself, and I do have a code with Flower Nose. It is code Marley. You can get 5% off your purchase. It's an affiliate code. So these are the Little Angel eyeshadow palettes. This is the Little Angel eyeshadow palette in shade 02 Weeping Angel, and this is more of a cool toned, colorful eyeshadow palette. We have some really nice shimmers here on the top. This formula of these palettes, it wasn't my absolute favorite. I felt like some of the mattes were a little bit hard to like blend into each other, build on top of each other. This is the one in 01 Eden's Angel, and this one I also felt was a little bit hard to blend into each other, but because it's all neutrals, it is still very much doable. I feel like this is the best one of the two because it's neutrals. It's a little bit easier. I thought that the color story here, like the colors here, were really pretty. Packaging, beautiful, shimmers, stunning. I am gonna keep these, but these are not my favorite formula from the Flower Nose palettes that I have. Then I have this one. This is from the Swan Ballet collection, and this is the one in Pink Swan, and this is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes that I have from Flower Nose. Absolutely stunning shimmers, very wet looking, beautiful pinky rosy tones. I do love my pinks. I love pinks, purples, cool tones. That is kind of what you can expect from me in this video. Absolutely stunning, definitely keeping that. Then I have here the Flower Nose Moonlight Mermaid series Mermaid's Dream 04, and this one is just such a stunning kind of like pastel, cool toned eyeshadow palette. The shimmers in this one are a little bit on the softer side, but I actually go into this quite a bit because I do really love these mattes. The mattes from Flower Nose are really easy to use usually, but they are a little bit on the softer side. And the shimmers are usually more of like a topper sparkle. Another one from the Moonlight Mermaid series. This is the one in Stellar Sand. Once again, beautiful packaging. And then when you open it up, it has a neutral colors. This shimmer in here is very sparkly, very beautiful. I think this is a gorgeous neutral taupey eyeshadow palette to have. I really like this one. Then we have another one from the Swan Ballet collection, and this is the one in White Swan, if I'm not mistaken. And this one is more kind of like peachy, warm toned. We also have these two really nice taupery shades, absolutely gorgeous. I actually don't think I'm gonna be getting rid of any of my Flower Nose eyeshadow palettes because I do really enjoy them. They really are like this little capsule of a certain color. We have some really nice neutral tones that I do enjoy from time to time. And this is the one in Celestial Castle, also from the Moonlight Mermaid series. This is such a beautiful neutral eyeshadow palette. We have one shimmer in the middle. This is a really nice rosy tone, and the rest is really neutral. Absolutely stunning. I really like these types of colors. Makes me think a lot of the Colourpop Going Coconuts. Then we have the Strawberry Rococo Violet palette that I absolutely enjoy so much. Like, this is so beautiful. This has such stunning purple tones, and I feel like they give a lot of like options, a lot of variety for it being such a small palette. It's only 5 shades, but you can go more pink, kind of like neutral purple, or very kind of like inky blue purple. I think this is stunning. I love the way this works. Really love this packaging, of course. And then we have the Butterfly Cloud color, and this was in the shade Incense Purple Haze, and this is just a very mauvey, absolutely beautiful color story. We have different shades of mauve in the shimmers. This has 6 shades instead of 5. And then we have 2 kind of like neutral shimmers in the middle, which worked really well. Like, this is a really nice eyeshadow palette as well. And then lastly, the newest addition to my Flower Nose collection is this one from the Shells Duo collection. And this one is in the shade Moonlight Pearl 01. And this is just very soft, very like neutral. We have some nice topper shades as well. This is just very like everyday neutral, nothing too crazy. Like, this is definitely the softest palette that I have from Flower Nose. But yeah, really beautiful. I love all of my Flower Nose eyeshadow palettes. They do a great job. Like, if you expect something super shifty, super crazy out there. It might not be for you. Usually they aren't like super colorful, but I do think they do a great job. Then I have two eyeshadow palettes from What's Up Beauty, and this is just a lovely brand. It does a lot of beautiful things. I have here the Geodes eyeshadow palette. The packaging is 10 out of 10. Then when you open it up, it's kind of like a neutral mixed with a colorful palette. These shimmers work best with a bit of a glitter glue or something like a little bit of a tacky base. I think this is a beautiful palette. It's just giving soft, rosy, romantic. And then we have the Dragon Eye eyeshadow palette. This they sent to me. And this one is just absolutely stunning packaging. 10 out of 10 once again. And this has a really beautiful shifty, creamy, shimmery shades. I did use this again recently in a video, like using older palettes or older products in my collection. This is absolutely stunning. I did say at the time that I missed kind of like a green matte, but honestly, that is a very nitpicky thing. I think they did an absolutely amazing job with this eyeshadow palette. Alright, here I have some Krypton Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I did get into this brand pretty recently, and I started out with the Violet Crazy eyeshadow palette. So this one has this really dark violet packaging, and then the actual color story is actually quite kind of like soft and romantic. It's kind of like, is it neutral, is it colorful, kind of like in between, I would say. And this has really nice shifty shimmers. I really love the mattes in here. Like, this all worked really well. I did so many beautiful looks with this. Only thing I would say, I wish this was a little bit darker to get a little bit more like contrast. But that is, once again, a little nitpicky. I really enjoyed this palette. And then we have the two eyeshadow palettes that they came out with for the spring. Okay, I took a little bit of an unexpected break, but we're back. And I was talking about these Secret Garden eyeshadow palettes. I believe this one is Secret Garden 2. And this one has really interesting tones, a really interesting color story. Very kind of like murky pastel. Is giving spring, but it also kind of is giving fall. I love the shades in here. I love the looks that I've done with it so far. Shimmers are beautiful, but these are a little bit on the creasy side. Like, there's a little bit of a risk with these. And this is a Secret Garden 1. And this is also kind of like pastels mixed with slightly darker tones, but this is a little bit more on the cool tone side. We have some really nice mints. The shade that especially creased a little bit on me is the shade Freesia. There are some smoother shades in here as well. There are some more textured shades. I'm going to keep all of these because I do really like this brand and their formulas. Then I have here a few one-offs, brands that I have only one eyeshadow palette from. First up, I have here the Jace Joy eyeshadow palette, and this is from Titanium Foxes. This was my first time trying this brand, and I was super impressed. The color story of this is very kind of like murky, but also some cool tones. It's kind of like a mix of murky and fresh. You can do a little bit more neutral looks, but you can also do something quite nice and colorful. I just have to do another look with these blues, and then I can actually update you on this palette. But so far, I'm a huge fan, and this even made me do an orange look that I did really enjoy. And I don't know if that has ever happened before, so that is kind of interesting. Then I have here the Botanical palette by Beauty Bay. This was quite a hit last year. This was my first time trying Beauty Bay. By the way, I'm saying one-offs, but I have one more from Beauty Bay. So what I have gathered here doesn't make as much sense as I thought. This is a really beautiful kind of like half neutral, half colorful palette with some really nice shimmers in here. It is a beautiful palette. They came out with kind of like an updated version of this. I haven't bought that, and I'm probably not gonna. It's a lot more greens, and I just kind of feel like this is a really nice condensed, like, it's a slightly bigger palette, but it's still condensed enough for me. We have 20 shades. I feel like I have here what I want from this kind of like a vibe. I really enjoy this palette. Then I have here the Nimya eyeshadow palette, the palette, and this is quite an interesting palette. I wasn't a super big fan when I just got this, and there's just something about the choices that were made for the shimmers that doesn't work like fully for me. But because this is the only palette that the brand has, I do quite enjoy it. I'm gonna keep it. I don't see myself reaching for this a bunch, but because this is a brand that I review pretty regularly, I am gonna be keeping this. And then we have the Daydreamer palette by Beauty Bay as well. This is a pastel, rosy, super light and soft palette. I was definitely missing a little bit of depth here. Of course, I can go into other palettes and kind of like add something in. I do think that there are some really nice shimmers in here, and you can do a really beautiful kind of like purpley mauvey look. I do enjoy this palette, but I just feel like it would have been a little bit more inspiring to me if we had a little bit more like dimension, but I am gonna keep it. Okay, then I have here a bunch of Unearthly Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I do really enjoy this brand, and I really was on kind of like an Unearthly kick, I think last year, and I was buying a lot from them, kind of like mystery boxes and things like that. This one I bought quite a couple of years ago. This is the original Fall Magic eyeshadow palette, and this is from when they were still Alien Cosmetics. So this is definitely an older palette, and this is just, I don't know, it is just a perfect fall color story. I love the tones in here, the shimmers in here. It's a little bit warm for me. It's not the tones that I immediately go to, but I do feel like this is one of the best color stories the brand has done, and this is one of the best color stories I feel I have for like a fall eyeshadow palette. It's actually gorgeous, really creamy shimmers. Like this was from the time that they were still doing their old formula, but I feel like it feels quite elevated, almost like this was the first time they kind of tried the newer formula with the more creamy shimmers. I think this is absolutely stunning. I definitely have to get into this one a little bit more. Then I have here the Charmer eyeshadow palette, and this eyeshadow palette is from a mystery box. I think it was maybe a Valentine's mystery box, and I was just like purples, pinks. I think I'm gonna love this. This has a lot of shades that I would love to use. Like this, all of these shades are shades that I would use. Let's say it like that. But I feel like the color story doesn't inspire me as much as some other color stories by the brand, because I do feel like we're missing some kind of like lightness here, and I do feel like this corner feels a little bit random, and then when you like take this away, I do feel like it's a little bit more of a like standard purple palette. I am going to be keeping this though. I don't actually think that I'm going to be decluttering any Unearthly Cosmetics palette this round. I feel like the palettes that weren't for me, I already decluttered. So this is the Spring Magic eyeshadow palette, and this they came out with, I think, for spring last year. You have rosy tones, you have kind of like murky green tones, and then these kind of like tealy blues. This is the newer formula, and Charmer was the newer formula as well. I've been buying a lot in their new formula, but it's actually been a while that I bought an Unearthly eyeshadow palette. Like, they really have their murky, grungy side, and that is not exactly what I go for, like what I enjoy in eyeshadow palettes. I do think this is a beautiful color story. We have some really nice shimmers. I love the rosy tones especially. I am definitely going to be keeping this one, as I said. And then we have the Unearthly High Temp eyeshadow palette, and I think this was their summer collection last year. I just love the idea of this. I just love the whole vibe of this, and the kind of like mauve tones with these fiery reds, oranges, and yellows. I love kind of like going into this row and then adding some really bright, cool tone yellow. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. This is a palette that just inspires me, even though these colors, like especially this orange and this yellow, aren't really something that I would go into a lot. I just feel like this is still a very inspiring, very cool eyeshadow palette. Then we have the Unearthly All I Ever Wanted color palette, and I shouldn't buy all shimmer palettes anymore. I just shouldn't do it. Even if I buy it from my absolute favorite eyeshadow brand, and I buy it in a formula that I really, really, truly love, it is just something that I don't reach for, because I just reach at this point in time, doing my makeup at this point in time, I reach for one palette per look. And I know it's not necessary, and I used to do my makeup a little bit differently, but I feel like now it makes more sense for me with reviewing palettes and just wanting to see what a palette can do on its own. This is absolutely gorgeous. We have some really nice shifty shades. I do think that all of the shades in here are shades that I would use. I just don't really reach for it, but it is absolutely beautiful. It is very much neglected in my collection. I'm definitely gonna keep it, but I'm gonna try and not buy any more all shimmer palettes. It's just I don't reach for it. It doesn't matter how good the quality is. Then we have the Surrender eyeshadow palette by Unearthly. This was their Valentine's eyeshadow palette a couple of years ago, and this is absolutely beautiful. I love the color story here, kind of like half neutral, half colorful. I love the addition of the light pink, but then also with some deeper shades with the red. The look that Angelica Nyqvist did with this eyeshadow palette, it lives rent-free in my head. there's just something about that look. When I saw that, I thought, okay, I need to do that as well. I need to have this palette in my life. And I have done similar types of looks. I know this is all too specific. Sometimes I see someone do a look and it just inspires me so much. And I do feel like this is a formula where the shimmers are a little bit more on the drier side, but they are not like unpigmented. They still have a nice kind of like glow on the lid, but they are not as extremely shifty and like multi-chrome sparkly as a newer formula. I still think this is a beautiful palette with like a lot of looks. Like this makes a lot of sense to me. Really enjoy this one. I don't think it's still available, but I could imagine that coming out at some point in like an updated formula, and Earthly likes to do that. This is the Night Terror eyeshadow palette, and this is also from a mystery box, I think from Halloween or something like that. This is so beautiful. A purple periwinkle palette with some really nice shimmers. You can go a little bit more neutral rosy, you can go really bright and purple, you can go a little bit more muted. This is absolutely beautiful. Like these are the tones I like to wear when it comes to colors. Then we have the Dreamer eyeshadow palette. This was my favorite eyeshadow palette of last year. I ranked this #1. I love the combination of kind of like the neutral rosy tones with kind of like the very cool toned inky purpley shades that give you the dimension, and I think this is absolutely gorgeous. It's just giving me everything that I want. It is not extremely colorful, but it's just still very interesting. It just makes me do some different looks, which I really enjoy when a palette like challenges me a little bit. Alright, let's get into my Kaleidos eyeshadow palettes. I have one of the quads, and this is the Kaleidos quad palette in Venus Trap, and I really enjoy this. It is just a kind of like cool tone neutral, 3 mattes, 1 shimmer quad. The shimmer is very sparkly. These mattes I really enjoy. They are really easy to use. I actually reached into this one a lot for kind of like basic standard easy on the go looks. Like I don't even use this shimmer a lot. I go into these mattes often when I do something quick. I really enjoy this palette. I am definitely gonna be keeping that one. Then I have a palette that I will probably never declutter ever in my life. This is the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette. Like this was a moment. Like this was a moment in time. I remember feeling so excited about this. Like I almost cried when Angelica's video on this came out. It was just, I was so impressed by this whole palette, the whole look of it. I couldn't wait to have this in my hands. This was also at the time I was just starting out YouTube. It was just a moment, and this is just absolutely gorgeous packaging. It's a little bit of a chunky palette, but I can forgive it. And then we open it up. We have from light to deep, beautiful mattes, beautiful shimmers. You can do so many beautiful looks with this. It just looks amazing. The shimmers are kind of like more topper shimmers, and you can do such like fun, interesting looks with this with a lot of dimension. I do have to say I don't go into this a whole lot, and I think the reason is because I do have a little bit of this mindset like I don't want to use this too much, which is crazy because you should just use the things that you love the most. I do also feel like this in a way for me is kind of like missing something a little bit rosy almost, like maybe a little bit of a rosy mid-tone. Then I could see myself doing a little bit more of a neutral look that makes sense for like my makeup style. So it's also a palette where it's not like I see a go-to look. It's a little bit more of an interesting palette. It challenges me a little bit more. I definitely should do another look with this. But yeah, never ever gonna declutter that one. I haven't decluttered a single palette yet, but we have been going through like favorites now, so I promise you there will be declutters. I promise you. And then I have 2 eyeshadow palettes by Fantasy Cosmetica, and this is a brand I've just kind of gotten into. I don't have a lot of palettes from them, as you can see. This is the collab that they did with Makeup Just for Fun, Amanda, and this is the Enchanted Autumn eyeshadow palette. The packaging of this is absolutely beautiful, very cool. And then this is just a very kind of like muted, half neutral, half colorful eyeshadow palette. We don't have a lot of dimension here. It doesn't go like super dark or super light, but I do love the shimmers in here. I do love kind of like this very muted autumn color story that isn't super warm toned, because a lot of times the autumn vibes are very warm, orangey, rusty, and that is not really for me. So I actually am very excited about this palette. I got very excited when that was announced. And then I bought the Harvest of Souls eyeshadow palette a couple of months ago. This was a lot of people's favorite last year, and I haven't touched it yet. I do love the look of this so much. I think this looks absolutely gorgeous. There's some really beautiful lighter tones. The shimmers look amazing. We have some beautiful deepening up mattes. I just really need to get into this, but I have just been swamped with trying eyeshadow palettes, and this is kind of like, it's an older palette. I don't think it's really necessary for me to create like a dedicated video or something like that, but it could be that I do something with this on Instagram in short form. I think I'm really gonna love this kind of like purple look that we have over here. I really need to do my close-ups and swatches of this, and then I can just like get into this and do some looks. All right, what's next? I think I'm gonna go, oh wait, I think I'm gonna go for this. This is also a pile of kind of like one-offs, and now I'm a little bit confused on how I sorted everything. I did my best. So here I have the NARS eyeshadow palette that they came out with for fall a couple of years ago. This is the Climax eyeshadow palette, and this packaging is not giving the same vibes as the inside. This is such a beautiful like fall color story without being like super colorful. It's kind of like half colorful, half neutral. I do feel like this is one of the more interesting eyeshadow palettes NARS has done, and it is actually very beautiful quality. So I am gonna be keeping this one. Then we have the Singe Galactic Visitor eyeshadow palette, and this is the first eyeshadow palette that Singe came out with, and this is just a gorgeous kind of like half neutral, half colorful eyeshadow palette. We have some really nice kind of like mints and blues, and I really like kind of like the lighter tones that we have in here as well. It's kind of like pastel, but then you can also really deepen that up. This also has some really nice smooth shimmers that weren't like too chunky or textured. Really enjoy it. I am gonna be keeping it. Then I have here the Rosie McMichael and Beauty Creations eyeshadow palette that I recently tried. This is the Every Other Day eyeshadow palette, and this is quite a big palette. We have a lot of cool tones, neutral tones, kind of like purples and blues. I've been doing my best to do different looks with this, and actually I've really enjoyed going into this palette. This formula is really beautiful. We have a multichrome in here which is called Extra, which is very nice and creamy, but overall the shimmer formula in this is very nice and creamy. The mattes are really blendable, really buildable. I think this is an amazing formula. It's just a bigger palette, so it takes a little bit more time for me like to try it all out. Also because it's a new formula to me, I just have to like try every shade and do a look with every shade. This is absolutely stunning. It's also pretty affordable. It's like 36-37 euros here in the Netherlands on Boozy Shop. So yeah, really enjoying that. Then we have this eyeshadow palette. This is the Carnival XL Remastered, and I got this from Caitlin Costello in our Makeup Mystery Box collab. And this is a huge palette. This is such a big palette that I'm kind of like, how am I ever gonna get through this? How am I ever gonna use all of these shades to review it? Also, I did kind of like 2 or 3 looks with it, and it wasn't like my absolute favorite formula. I feel like the mattes are a little bit thin, and the shimmers in here are not like super impressive. And I never used to own a rainbow palette, and I also kind of don't feel like a rainbow palette is for me, because I am just quite particular with the shades that I like to wear, and I don't wear all of the shades, all the colors of the rainbow. So this feels kind of like, almost like, how do I even like start? How do I even get through this? I'm a little scared of this eyeshadow palette, I gotta say. I'm very thankful that I got it, very thankful that I got to try it out. But I do feel like this is proving to me what I thought, and that is that like rainbow palettes aren't really for me. Like I have the colors that I need in the palettes that I already own, and I own so many palettes. So yeah, I'm gonna try and do more looks with this. I'm gonna try and at least have this in my end of the year eyeshadow palette ranking. Then I have 2 eyeshadow palettes from Ansley Rain Cosmetics. I was just getting into this brand when they got into some hot water. They got themselves into some drama, and I am not talking about them anymore on my channel, and I'm not buying any new palettes, but I did spend a lot of money on these, so I'm also not gonna be decluttering these. I'm also not gonna like throw these out or anything like that, but I also don't really know if I'm gonna do like more looks with them. I haven't done a look with either of them in a long time. I did enjoy them, like I do enjoy the formula, and I did want to show you I still own these. Like, these are still part of my collection. But yeah, I'm taking a bit of a break from the brand. So here we have the Lens of Enchantment. And this is just pastel tones, cool tones with some jewel tones, really beautiful shimmers, really nice mattes. I do really enjoy it. It is just that this shape of packaging, it doesn't fit in my drawer. It's so like impractical. So it's usually just under my other palettes, like on the bottom, and yeah, that's not very practical. And then I have here the Cold Moon eyeshadow palette, and I do feel like at this point I do have some palettes that give me kind of like this vibe. It's very grayed out. It's very kind of like neutral, but with some really interesting undertones, beautiful shimmers once again. I did enjoy these palettes, I gotta be honest about that. And then we have the Huda Beauty Icy Nude, and this one I tried at the end of last year. I believe they said this was their last big palette. They came out with this, I think, for the holidays. It's a very cool tone, neutral palette with some really sparkly shimmers. We have a pressed glitter in here. I feel like that is so unnecessary. I did do some really nice looks with it, but it isn't super versatile. I'm definitely gonna keep it because I do enjoy, like I did enjoy the looks that I have done with this, and we have some really interesting shimmers in here that give a really nice sparkly effect on the eyes. Okay, let's just continue with the one-offs. This is the Juvia's Place, the Blushed Rose eyeshadow palette, and I do really enjoy this palette. Beautiful rosy tones. This shimmer is absolutely beautiful, gives a wet look. Really love this addition of the orange in here. It's just a very fun pop, so definitely keeping that. Then I have here the Dragon Fruit palette by Cleona Cosmetics and Emily Violet Marie, and I have had comments of people saying that you can ask for them to send you like a replacement of the packaging or something like that, because this packaging is just falling apart without you even touching it. Like, you just have to look at it and it's like broken even further. This is a beautiful all shimmer palette. As I said, all shimmer palettes are just a little bit outside of what I use nowadays, outside of what I go into often nowadays, but it's definitely a really beautiful palette with really beautiful formulas, and I really love the vibe of this, like the fruity, summery, shimmery vibe. And we do have some kind of like satin shades that you could use to like add a little bit of dimension in the crease. I am definitely gonna keep this. Then I have here the Sigma Ambiance eyeshadow palette. They did send this to me in PR, and this is just a very warm tone neutral eyeshadow palette. I did really enjoy like the shimmers in here. I did really enjoy the quality of this. I do think they did a great job with the quality in here, but this is just really not my color story. But it is the only Sigma palette that I currently own. By the way, I do have a code with Sigma, an affiliate code that gets you some money off. This is just a palette that I can see myself decluttering in a little bit, but not right now, because I do like to have this for reference. I just think that they have some other color stories that I would enjoy using a lot more than this one. Then I have here the Nomad Cosmetics Fuji 5 Lakes eyeshadow palette. The packaging on this is absolutely amazing. Then the color story is beautiful. We have some reds, we have some blues, we have some yellows. There's just something about this palette. It is not inspiring me to get back into it. I don't know what it is, but I kind of feel like, okay, I did all the looks. I've seen what I needed to see. I've done what I needed to do. I don't really feel inclined to use this again, but once again, it's my only palette from Nomad Cosmetics. So I think I'm going to be keeping it for now, but if I still haven't used this in December when I do my end of the year declutters, I'll probably declutter it. I bought the Adept Minka eyeshadow palette a few months ago to finally try the Adept formula. I spent like 100 euros on this, and I'm not entirely sure if in the end I think that's worth it. It is a beautiful palette. I really love the color story. We have some really nice smooth shimmers in here, but we also have some more chunky shimmers that I just don't know if I'm really gonna reach for again. This, you can do really beautiful looks with this for sure, but there's something about these mattes. It's not my absolute favorite formula. I just feel like these mattes are not as pigmented and buildable as I'd like them to be. They're a little bit thin, and I kind of have to go into these deeper shades to get some dimension, and I feel like I have a lot of palettes that give me a shade kind of like this in this depth, where I can only use this and get the depth that I want. So it's not my perfect palette, and I think if this were like 50-60 euros, I wouldn't have minded that as much. But I'm still gonna keep it. Alright, so let's go for a pile where I will likely do some decluttering. I think it's time to actually get into the declutter part of this video. I have a bunch of Icon eyeshadow palettes from Revolution. I bought all of the ones that they've had up till now, and some of these I really enjoy and some of these are not my actual like favorites, and I think it's time to make some decisions. So this one I actually still have to update you on. This is the Brights Icon palette, and this they came out with in the spring. This is not my favorite one because I feel like this formula overall is a little bit of a softer formula, especially when it comes to the mattes. They're just a little bit more soft and blendable, and I enjoy that for the neutral palettes. But I feel like for a palette like this with all the bright tones, it makes it look a little bit too much like a soft watercolor look, which is not my absolute favorite. So probably this is going to be decluttered in the end, but because I still have to update you on it, I cannot really like declutter it right now. What I am going to be decluttering is this one. This is the Icon, the Eternal Icon palette, and this is just not my favorite of the bunch. It's really like murky, warm tones. I do feel like it is a really nice look with this in my first impression video, and I do enjoy the formula in here. It's just not the one that I would see myself reaching for again, and I'm kind of thinking, am I gonna get back to these palettes really in that way where I need them all? I think it is time to let this one go. It's pretty new still in my collection, so I can give this to someone who can fully enjoy it. So this is gonna be the first declutter actually. Okay, then this one. This is the Smoky Icon, and I do feel like this is a pretty nice palette, but we have some shades that I don't really see myself reaching for again. I feel like these three are very similar, and even though I think this is a beautiful formula, as I've said, and I think they did a great job with these, I think I can let go of this. I kind of feel like, will I regret this? Like, do I still need this in some way? Like, I do really like the look of these. I might think about that a little bit more. Okay, we also have this one. This is the Muse Icon that they came out with for holiday, and this one has a little bit more rosy tones combined with purples. I do think this is a really nice combination of cool tones and kind of like neutrals. And then we have this one, the True Icon, and this one has, of all of these palettes, the most beautiful shimmers. These shimmers are pretty like dimensional, almost multicolored. We have some warmer tones which I don't reach for a lot, but you can do a look with this that is a little bit more on the rosy side. I am definitely gonna keep that one. And then we also have this one, the Enchanted Icon, and this is my personal favorite. It's a little bit softer, but you do have some deepening uptones over here. A little bit like taupey, cool tone, rosy, but not like super gray toned or anything like that. I actually think this is really nice. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep these for now, but maybe in the end I will declutter the Smoky Icon because I do feel like it's not going like very well right now. And then we also have this one. This is the Revolution Hyper Real Eyeshadow palette, and this kind of started me reviewing Revolution a little bit because I did really enjoy the shimmers in here. Like, not all of them are amazing, but there are some really cute shimmers in here. I do feel like at this point I have some other really nice palettes from them that give me some more options that also give me mattes, so this one is gonna go. And then I have three of the Forever Flawless eyeshadow palettes. These are the palettes that they came out with in the fall, and this actually was a great success. I really enjoyed these. So we have here the Forever Flawless Astronova, and this is just a super cool color story, kind of like mints, lighter tones, some grungy tones. You can go neutral, you can go more minty, cool tone green. I think this is absolutely amazing. Some really beautiful like lighter mints in here. Definitely keeping that one. Then we have the Forever Flawless Temptation, and I thought I had already decluttered this, but apparently I still kept it. I do feel like this is just a little bit too warm toned for me, and it's not as inspiring to me as the other palettes that I have here from the Forever Flawless line. So this I'm actually gonna declutter as well. And then I think this is my favorite eyeshadow palette that I have from Revolution, and this is the Forever Flawless Cherry Rebel. And this is a cool tone palette with pops of red and berry that goes from light to really deep. We have some really nice sparkly shades. This shimmer is absolutely stunning. This shimmer is absolutely stunning. There is so much you can do with this. It's just a little bit interesting, but not too like out of my comfort zone. I can use this for a more colorful look. I can use this for like day-to-day looks. Really enjoy the formula in here. Absolutely amazing. The mattes in here are stunning. So that was it for my Revolution collection. Okay, let's continue with my Nabla eyeshadow palettes. I used to be a huge fan of Nabla eyeshadow palettes, but they aren't really doing them anymore. It's not really their thing now. They are really leaning into like the single eyeshadows, which is a category of makeup that I often kind of like forget about, even though I have some. This is the Side by Side Nude Palette Baby by Nabla, which they came out with, I think, like 1.5 years ago, something like that. And this is the last palette that they have done. It is a cute palette, but do I really feel like this is interesting enough to keep around? I mean, this is a little bit shimmery, but the rest is pretty basic. It's not really a palette that inspires me when it comes to like the formulas and the finishes. Like, it works well, it blends well, but I just have a lot of interesting neutral palettes and I just don't really like feel it at this point with this one. And since they're not really doing palettes anymore, I'm kind of like, I also don't really feel like I need to have this for comparisons. So I actually think I can let this one go. I just have other brands that do interesting, like truly interesting neutral palettes. And I think I also have some smaller palettes in case I want to travel with an eyeshadow palette. I do have some options, but usually when I travel, I don't really wear a lot of eyeshadow anyway. Then we have the Side by Side Nude Palette by Nabla. And this is one of the first videos I've ever done on this channel. This was like my second or third video. I have really enjoyed this. I think it's really nicely laid out. We have some really nice shimmers. We have like grays, warm tones, and kind of like here the neutral tones. And I've truly done so many looks with it and really enjoyed it, but it's older and I don't feel as inspired by it now. And I'm gonna be showing you some really fun neutral palettes that just, I don't know, I think I'm gonna reach for over this one. There's just something about these tones. I do not think that I'm still gonna be reaching for this one, even though it was a favorite for a very long time. So I'm actually gonna declutter that one as well. And then I have here the Cutie Palette Analog. This was from the time that they still did Cutie palettes. I think this was the last time they came out with them. And this is a really beautiful kind of like peach to gold duochrome, and we have really like warm tones that you can deepen up with this very cool tone chocolatey brown. It's a beautiful palette, but it is not really something that I feel I need to keep. Nabla just isn't this brand for me anymore. I feel like they are more about like the cheek products and lip products for me. Like if they would come out with another lip line, then I would consider doing another video on that, but I just don't really see them expanding on their eyeshadow palettes quite soon. And I can definitely give this to someone who's really gonna enjoy this. Yeah, I just feel like my tastes have changed a little bit and I gotta be honest with myself. Then I have here two eyeshadow palettes by W7 Cosmetics. I bought the Eye Moods Day to Night eyeshadow palette a little while ago, like over a month ago now. And the thing with W7 eyeshadows is the shimmers are quite nice. They do a pretty good job at them. Some are pretty like sparkly, some have a little bit of a duochrome to them, but I do feel like the mattes are very soft and they are a little bit too soft for me. Now, I still have to update you on these, so this is not going to be something that I declare now, but I am pretty sure that these palettes are gonna leave my collection pretty soon. Like these are in my mind already basically decluttered, and I don't think I'm gonna be buying more W7 eyeshadow palettes in the future. Like they have some other things that I have enjoyed from them. And then this is the Mixology eyeshadow palette, and this one has kind of like quads in here, and I feel the same. Like I feel like these formulas are very similar. The shimmers are pretty nice. They give a little bit of a glow to the lid. They definitely do something for me, but I just feel like the mattes are a little bit too soft. So this is not my favorite formula. I've heard some people really love the Moonglade eyeshadow palette, but I don't actually think I'm gonna like give this brand another go when it comes to the eyeshadows. Then I have a bunch of Catrice eyeshadow palettes over here. I do review, or Catrice and Essence I must say, I do review a lot of Essence and Catrice. They are go-to brands on this channel. This is the Cozy Glow Eye and Cheek palette, and this they came out with over the fall. The blush in this is amazing. The highlighter in this is amazing. This quad you can get quite a nice like fall look with, but it's not too warm tone for me, so I'm actually going to be keeping this one because I do really enjoy that. And then we have the Catrice Fall in Colors eyeshadow palette, and this is just one of their best eyeshadow palettes that they've ever done. Really nice shimmers, really nice mattes. I love the color story. It is kind of like cool tone berry, a little grungy. We have a pop of orange, which I think does fit the vibe. And I do really love the cover. I do really love like the whole vibe of this. This is a great eyeshadow palette. I've had it in my collection for a little bit longer, but it gets to stay for a little bit longer. And then I have here the eyeshadow palette that Catrice did in their advent calendar. This is actually quite a nice eyeshadow palette. I really like the color story in here. This purple shade didn't really work for me, but the rest is actually really beautiful. It goes from light to deep. We have some interesting neutral tones. I'm actually going to be keeping this for a little bit longer. Then I have here the Catrice Wonder Woman eyeshadow palette, and this color story I really enjoy. I like the idea of this, but I just don't feel like the formula in here is amazing. I feel like the shimmers are very dry. Like they are satins, but they are also very dry and unpigmented. I don't love this. I'm gonna be updating you on this very soon. I feel pretty much ready to update you, so I'm gonna be decluttering this in the end. By the way, if I declutter any things that I have only tried this year, it will go in a separate like basket to be able to do like my eyeshadow palette ranking. Then we have the Catrice the Pure Nude eyeshadow palette, and this is absolutely lovely. It's a very soft, very blended, like neutral look. It is boring, but it's beautiful. That's how I can describe it. It's just creamy, it blends well. It's nothing interesting, but it's just a go-to good decent eyeshadow formula. I really enjoy it. Then we have the Catrice Tiny Treasures eyeshadow palette, and I got it in shade 020 Wild Berry, and I thought that this was just very dry and pigmented. Didn't blend well. I didn't enjoy this. Like this is a palette. This is gonna end up in the bottom of this year, and it's gonna end up in my worst of the year. I can already tell you that this was not for me. So this is gonna be a declutter, but it's gonna hang around a little bit so I don't forget to rank it. Then we have this Essence Harley Quinn eyeshadow palette, and this is a soft pinky palette. I did keep it because there's something to this. I love kind of like a soft pinky look. There are some pretty cute shimmers in here, but I don't think I see myself reaching for this one again. I feel for that it kind of needed a little bit of depth, and I gotta be honest with myself, so this is gonna go. Then with this Catrice Eye and Cheek palette that they came out with in their, was it Festive Treasures? What was this called? Festive Treasures collection. And this is a pretty cute eyeshadow palette. We have some pretty cute cheek products. There's nothing really wrong with this, but I do not feel like this is like elevated enough for me to actually like get into this, to actually pick this up again. Like it's cute, but it's kind of in a way missing something for me. Like this is good, it's good, it's good, it's all good, but I have a very big makeup collection with a lot of really great makeup, so I'm actually gonna declutter this one. And then lastly, I have two eyeshadow palettes from the Catrice Finding Dory collection, from the Sister Love collection that they did in the fall. Here we have the palette in 010 Just Keep Swimming, and this is a cool toned eyeshadow palette. We have some really nice shimmers in here. It doesn't have a lot of depth, but the shades that we have in here work really well, blend really well, and it's just really nice shimmers. So I'm actually thinking I'm gonna keep this. This is the one in 020 Great Barrier Reef, and this one is a little bit more rosy. It is a little bit more warm toned on the eye, at least on my eye, than it looks like in the palette, but I'm gonna keep this one as well. This one gives a little bit more depth with this shade. I think this was actually a pretty good formula, and they definitely did this a lot better than they did their latest collection, so I'm gonna appreciate that they did a great job here. I also quite like the packaging, so I'm gonna keep these. Okay, it's time for Colourpop. I used to have more Colourpop. I already decluttered a lot. It's been a while since I bought a Colourpop palette, and these are all like really old. They are really old. So this is a Colourpop Dead Staupe. This is a little bit newer in my collection. I was a little bit late to the game a little bit late to hop on this train. And this is a beautiful palette. I actually dip into this quite a bit for a easy go-to look, and I just feel like this I like a little bit better than the one from Naula that I just decluttered. So I'm gonna keep this because this is not that old. But then we have the Golden Coconuts. This is really old and I have really enjoyed this. I think this is a gorgeous palette. I love the colors in here. I love this middle shimmer, but I do feel like I kind of have this in different palettes. Like these tones I kind of have now, and this is really old. So I'm kind of thinking if I miss it, I might repurchase this, but it's gotten a little bit too old. Then we have this Strawberry Shake by Colourpop, and this was just a moment in time. This just gives me all of the summer vibes, and me and my sister were so excited when this just came out because I feel like this was one of the first strawberry palettes that we were aware of that came out, and we were just so excited. We ordered this right away, and I love the tones in this, but this is just very old. I think it is time to let this one go, even though I kind of don't want to. I just feel like it's had its time. And then we have the Blue Moon palette by Colourpop, and I bought this because I didn't really have a lot of blues and I was just getting into color a little bit. This is a little bit of a scary palette for me. I do love palettes where it's kind of like a mix of neutrals and blue tones like this. It just makes me reach for it quicker, more often, and I don't actually know if it makes sense for me to keep this. There was a time that I also didn't have a dark blue matte. I just didn't have it. I had like 15 eyeshadow palettes and like 12 of them were neutral. So do I think I'm still gonna use this? I don't think so. It kind of feels like betrayal. It kind of feels like this is such a classic. Like, how can I declutter this? But I think it is time. Okay, then I have a few things that I recently acquired or haven't used yet. I did buy the Cheery Up Floating Alive, I believe this is called. I cannot see. The name is not on here in English, but I believe that is what it is, and I was just really interested to try Cheery Up, and I bought this a few months ago, but I haven't touched it. It looks absolutely amazing. It looks like a gorgeous, cool tone, smoky eyeshadow palette without being too gray. I actually really want to dip into this. I also see some holographic shades. It looks absolutely amazing. Packaging also 10 out of 10. I definitely should use this soon. Like, this is gorgeous. This is the type of thing where I just know if I start using it, I will probably use it a bunch because it's such a nice cool tone palette with something interesting in there as well. Then this one I got in PR from C Beauty Mall, and this is a palette of single eyeshadows from Cheery Up, and I have done a few looks with this. I have added this to a few looks, but I just should never buy an all shimmer palette again. There's a cat hair over here. I should never do that again. Like, this was the last straw. I did swatch it, I did show it to you, but it's time. It is time for me to actually use it, and then it's time for me to stop buying these kinds of things because I don't really use them. I gotta understand my makeup style a little better and stop buying these things. But it's been a while. I haven't bought any all shimmer palette this year, okay? It's been going well, but I still feel like, why was I doing that? Then I have here the Viseart palette that I recently tried. This is the Lilas Lumiere Étendue Vise Pro, and this is actually a really beautiful palette. A cool tone neutral palette, some nice shimmers. The shimmers are really smooth. They look really beautiful on the eye. They are kind of like satin, but they are not like lackluster or too dry. The mask work really well. I did a really beautiful neutral look with this. And then I have another palette that I feel is kind of like similar to Viseart. It's kind of like in the same realm. They're kind of doing the same thing. So this is the Morphe Moonstone eyeshadow palette. They just revamped their eyeshadow line. Can I open you? They just revamped their eyeshadow line, and I bought one of the 12 pan palettes. I also ordered a 6 pan palette to kind of see what the baked shades are like. This is kind of like, it's giving me the vibe from the Viseart palette in formula and in like color story a little bit. And it is like half of the price. Let me just put these next to each other. I don't think it's the exact same color story, okay? I don't think that, but it's giving a vibe. I just think this is a really nice kind of like cool tone palette without being gray. Some really nice shimmers that are very smooth on the lid, but not like crazy textured or very like chunky. This all worked really well. You have some lighter shades, you have some deepening up shades. I think this is really nice, and the packaging is also nice. Like, it's beautiful. Okay, let's move on to Gloss Gods. And Gloss Gods is just one of the brands where I feel like I will reach into their neutral palettes because I think they do such interesting neutral color stories, kind of like semi-neutral, semi-colorful. I also have some colorful palettes here from them, but I really enjoy them. They're a European indie brand. I can easily get them. They are a Swedish brand, by the way, and I just think they do a great job. Very beautiful shimmers, not too expensive, nothing too crazy. Here I have the Vintage Glam eyeshadow palette, the Vintage Glam Remix, and I got this a few years ago. I do feel like at this point in their journey, their mattes can be a little bit difficult to blend. Like, it's not perfect. It's not bad, but it's not like super easy, effortless. The shimmers are really beautiful, especially this. And they shimmer stunning texture, but not chunky. We have some smoother ones as well. This is just my perfect color story. I love this so much. Like, this is me. Rosy, purpley, dimension, gorgeous. Then I have here the new Neutrals Remix eyeshadow palette, and this is also really beautiful. It is kind of like the warm toned version, leaning more green. So we have cool tone leaning more rosy, purpley, and this is warm tone leaning more green. But I feel like these are the warm tones that I would actually reach for, and this is what I would reach for over that Nabla palette, in the Nabla Cupid palette that I just decluttered. I just think this is amazing, so beautiful. Then one of my absolute favorite neutral color stories and just palettes in my collection is the Molten Metals by Gloss Gods. This is such a beautiful palette. There is just something to this. I love the mix of tones. I love the mix of warm tones and cool tones. I love that we have this really light, like inner corner contrasting shade here. I love that this is not a black, it's more like a charcoal, kind of like grayish blue dark. And we have just really beautiful shimmers. I have just loved the looks that I've done with this. I just feel like here they really stepped it up with their formula. By the way, I do have an affiliate link with Gloss Gods. I used to have a code, but that isn't the case anymore. Like, they switched things up a little bit with their like affiliate program. Then I have the two Let's Pop eyeshadow palettes that I bought. There are more in this range. I bought the purple one and the pink one. And I was a little bit harsh on these palettes because I did think that the shimmers creased a little bit quickly, but I feel like the color stories themselves, for being 5 pans, are great. I think they did a great job with that. Like, going from really light to really dark, beautiful shimmers. I think I probably will use these again, but just setting my lids a little bit more so it doesn't crease as much, or just placing the shimmers a little bit more strategically, a little bit more thin. I was a little harsh on these last year, but I do think that I could still very much enjoy these. The pink is also really beautiful. It's very soft, but then also bright, and it has depth. I think this is a very original pink palette, and this is really like a watermelon-esque, very nice for the summer. Definitely keeping these. Like, last year I was a little bit unsure if I wanted to keep these, but I think I can at this point appreciate them a little bit more, also because I realized that there are just some formulas that just crease a little bit quicker. I have just experienced that with other palettes as well. Then we have the Let's Get Nude eyeshadow palette, and this is the palette that they came out with for summer last year, and this is kind of like, it's a neutral palette. It leans a little bit cool, it leans a little bit warm. We have a really interesting multi-chrome in the middle called Golden Hour. I think you can do some really nice neutral looks with this. Once again, a really interesting neutral palette. I really love it, and definitely keeping this one. Then this one is their latest palette, and I'm actually ready to update you on this in my next update. This is the Dancing Lights. It's a little bit of a bigger palette. It was a little bit more expensive. This is, in my opinion, the best quality they've ever done. The shimmers in here are absolutely out of this world amazing. We have some really nice deepening up shades, different colors. Everything in here works so well. The mattes work so well, blend so well. I do not have any issues with this palette. So many different types of shimmers. It is absolutely stunning, and the packaging is beautiful as well. And then lastly, this is their more cool tone neutral palette. I really love this one. This is a beautiful cool tone smoky palette, and we also have a holographic shade in here. I really love the shade Hubble Hues. I did do another look with this a little while ago, like maybe a few months ago. This is gorgeous. A beautiful neutral palette, a beautiful cool tone neutral palette that isn't too gray. And that is always what I'm kind of like looking for. And then my Nationality Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I do have a few of their eyeshadow palettes because I do really love the brand. I think they have a great eyeshadow formula, and I also think that they do kind of like this half neutral, half colorful thing. They keep it pretty like spicy neutral, and that's just my thing. So this is the Barely Basic palette, and we have a spicy neutral palette. We have cool tones, we have like murky green shades, we have warm tones, and then we have mauves. These are more like sparkly shimmers, and these are more like iridescent shimmers. Beautiful palette and really nice for like fall time. Then this is actually the exception on all shimmer palettes, where I did actually use this a lot, especially when I first got this in. This is the Nationality Cosmetics Fairy Lights eyeshadow palette, but I feel like these shimmers are all very easy to spice up a neutral look. Like you can take a little bit of this and just dab it over, just add a little bit of sparkle. It's nothing too crazy, and it's also just a 6 pen, so it's really easy to kind of like think of it like, oh, let's add a little bit of shimmer from the Fairy Lights palette. I've actually used this quite a bit for a all shimmer palette, so maybe like smaller palettes would be more like easy for me to use. And then we have the Sugar and Spice eyeshadow palette, and I actually bought this a little bit later than it came out, like quite a few months, maybe even like 6 months to a year later. This is quite a nice palette, but I do feel like for me there's kind of like missing some variation in the mattes. The shimmers are really beautiful, and in the end I also kind of bought it for the shimmer because I was looking at some of these shimmers as singles, but then I would get to the same price as this whole palette. So I thought, okay, let's just buy the palette, but I just feel like these two are a little bit similar. I kind of feel like maybe a darker purple or a darker green could have like made this all make a little bit more sense to me. Like there's nothing wrong with the formulas. I do think it's a nice palette. I am gonna keep it, but it's not my favorite from them. And then we have the new Nearly Natural palette, and we also have the old Nearly Natural palette. So this is just one of my favorite neutral palettes in my collection. Once again, it is just a little bit of a spicy neutral palette. We have some murky tones, we have some mauve tones, we have some brown tones, kind of like peachy brown, some beautiful shimmers. This is a gorgeous eyeshadow palette. I really love the whole vibe here, and I love this taupey shade. And then they came out with a updated version, and I actually got this in pretty recently, and I haven't touched it yet at this point. There's still like the plastic on. I'm gonna try and take that off. Ooh, that is actually really nice. This packaging is nicer than I thought from seeing it online. Okay, so it's kind of like a soft touch, feels very beautiful, very nice. And this is what it looks like. I feel like it just looks a little bit different with the black packaging versus the kind of like nude pinky packaging. I do see like it is the same palette but built out a little bit differently. I also heard that the formulas aren't exactly the same. I think with this one, at first I didn't know if I wanted to buy it, but then I thought, okay, but there are a lot of shades in here that I would like to use. It's just kind of like the background throws me off a little bit. I just feel like the original background just looks a little bit more like, just seems to make a little bit more sense and makes the whole palette look a little bit more like a soft, like spicy, neutral, rosy palette. It just makes, I don't know, it just makes a little bit more sense. I haven't swatched this yet, I haven't used it yet, but I am gonna be doing that very soon. I am planning on doing something with this palette. I'm probably not gonna do like comparisons and things like that because I feel like there are a lot of videos out there already. I do feel like I'm gonna keep the original as well because it is a little different. And then we have another one of like my favorite palettes in my collection. This is the Nationality Cosmetics Rich Romantic. I love this kind of like spicy neutral thing. It's not exactly neutral, but it's also not exactly colorful. I love the shimmers in here, very beautiful shimmers. I love the addition of Intoxicating. I love the purples in here. I did recently do a little look with this and really enjoyed it. This is a gorgeous palette. And then I have two palettes here from Glamlight. I have the Red Velvet Cupcake palette from the time that they were still doing things that weren't collabs, and this is a beautiful palette, but I just never reach for this, and I feel like that is because we don't have a lot of like differences in depth. There's not really light shades, there's not really dark shades. I did really like doing kind of like two color looks when I just got this in, but I think it's time to accept that this is pretty old and I'm not gonna use it. Like, I've kept this and I've kept this and I've kept this, but I just have other palettes that give me this, but a little bit more of a modern version, a version that makes more sense to me to use. So this can go. And then we have the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth palette that I just got in. I just did a video with this, and this is a beautiful palette so far. I'm really enjoying it. I've done a couple of looks with this. I definitely have to try it out a little bit more, but I really enjoy the Glamlight formula. As far as I know it, I haven't used it. I hadn't tried any of Declutter palettes. Like, the other palettes that I tried were like the cocktail palettes that I did Declutter before, but this all seems really nice. A very creamy shimmer, so easy to use matte. And I'm still reviewing this. Then 2 more palettes that I bought from Monolith, but I haven't touched yet because I feel like I am very late to the game with these. A little bit less with this one, a little bit more with this one. But I do feel like once I get into this, I will really enjoy them. But I just need to find the moment that I can just use this, but I'm always kind of like on the fence. Do I want to film it? Do I not want to film it? I don't know if anyone is still interested in these. And usually when I say that, there's always a few people that say, I don't mind if it's later, and I get that. But the majority of the people probably won't really want to see that anymore. So we'll see. Maybe I will do some short form content with this. So here we have the Smoky Glam palette by Bella Beauté Bar. I have never tried Bella Beauté Bar before, but I thought, okay, this is the perfect time to try this because it's kind of like a rosy cool tone neutral palette. I see a lot of looks here that I'd want to do. It looks a little bit less bright in some of the like rosy pinky tones than I thought it was gonna be, which I'm actually liking. I actually think this is a great sort of neutral palette for me. I already see that there are some different like textures in the shimmers. I think this is actually gonna be a really nice one. It looks amazing. I just have to like film some close-ups and swatches. I think I'm gonna try and do that this week and just get into these palettes. And then I have here the Snow Angel palette by Simply Posh. I have never tried Simply Posh, and I've had this for a little bit and I still haven't tried Simply Posh. The thing that I love about this is how kind of like muted and grayed out everything is. I love the idea of this. It is just the type of colors that I don't feel like I have a lot, but I do really enjoy wearing that because it is kind of like a neutral look without being a truly neutral look. And you can really easily mix these colors together because they're all kind of like with the same kind of like gray tone to them. I think I would actually really enjoy this. And I mostly bought this for myself just to see what the Simply Posh formula would be like, but also because I thought, okay, this is going to be my type of color story. So I'm going to try and get into that. But there are just a few palettes that I just need to take my time for. Then I really enjoy the Lunar Beauty formula. I really enjoy Lunar Beauty as a brand. I really enjoy lip products, which I have shown you in my lip product Declutter collection Declutter, and I also really enjoy the eyeshadow palettes. So here I have the Moonshroom eyeshadow palette that they came out with for spring last year, and this is a little bit of a murky palette, a little bit different from me. These are not the tones that you often see in my collection. I am gonna keep it because I do really enjoy kind of like these yellowy tones, and you can do a little bit more of a cool tone look with it as well, especially with this bottom row. There are really beautiful shimmers in here, and I just really love the brand, really love the formula. So yeah, definitely keeping that. Then this is the Day and Night eyeshadow palette. We have 2 sides to it. They are magnetized, but you can also like take them separately. So we have the Night and the Day palette. I feel like this wasn't a super hyped like collection by him. It's very neutral, but I have really enjoyed it, especially around December when I had a lot of like events. So this is the night side, and it's a little bit more smoky, a little darker. I do feel like we could have had like 1 or 2 mattes a little bit with a little bit of a different tone, a little bit of difference in there. I do feel like this and this, it's just a little bit similar. Just do something a little bit different in undertone, or maybe kind of like a pop of color. And then we have the Day palette, and this one is just my type of palette, but I will go into the Night palette for kind of like deepening up shades. So I have a little bit more of a cool tone, rosy something here, and then we have some really nice shimmers. The shimmers by Lunar Beauty are absolutely amazing. I do really like his formulas for kind of like my neutral go-to looks, and I have really enjoyed this. I did really like it, but it's nothing like crazy out there with the color story. Then we have the Siren Sunset palette. Packaging is really beautiful. It's a very interesting color story. It's kind of like jewel tones and then cool tone neutrals. I do feel like when it comes to the colorful shades, we do have mostly dark shades, 1 or 2 kind of like mid-tone shades could have been nice, but I do feel like there are really nice formulas in here as well. The iridescent shades in here are absolutely stunning. We have some multichromes in here. Sea Witch is a really beautiful multichrome. Definitely gonna keep this palette. I definitely want to use that again sometime soon. And then we have the Full Fantasy palette, and this is just another one of those half neutral, half colorful, well, not really colorful, but kind of like neutral palettes with a twist. We have some more satin shades, but we also have some of those really like foiled metallics that Lunar Beauty does. I really love the tones in here, really love the options in here. I think it's a stunning palette. I actually am kind of missing a dark brown. Like if this black were a dark brown, it would have been perfect, but I ranked it really high the year that I tried this. Really enjoyed this. And then we have the Nude Prism eyeshadow palette. This is one of my most used palettes in my collection. I don't think there's another palette that can beat this out. I just really love the rosy tones in here, the kind of like taupey tones. You can do something a little bit more berry. The shimmers are beautiful, absolutely stunning. You have a lighter shimmer here. I usually go into like Sam or Laura. I love the pinks. I love using this in the inner corner. Formula in here is amazing. Shimmers are stunning. It is just, it's a little bit rosy, a little bit on the warm side for me, but I have just my go-to looks that I do with this if I just want to look pretty for like a party or something like that. So really love this one. Then I've been getting into Glam Shop since summer last year. I've been really enjoying their formulas. This is the Creme de la Creme eyeshadow palette. I don't like the way they did this packaging. The packaging looks very pixelated, so I don't really understand how that got through the prototyping, but yeah, I can forgive them because I do really like the formulas in here. I just think that the matte formula by Glam Shop is really easy to use, is really beautiful. I love the tones in here. The shimmers in here are basically just like satins, but I don't mind the satin at all. If it is not dry or unpigmented, I can really enjoy it, and I feel like these are really nice. This is just a very basic go-to, going to work, going to meet a friend kind of eyeshadow palette. I really actually enjoy this a lot. And then I have the quads from their Valentine's Day collection, and I've reviewed this one already, and this is the Pink Glam. This is a really beautiful formula. Once again, we have a really gorgeous shimmer in here. This is just kind of like a basic satin, like champagne, but this is really nice. A duochrome, really nice mattes in here. And I like that you can see the colors. And this one I have to do one more look with. This is a Cool Glam, and it's just a little bit more smoky, but it's really beautiful. We have two smoky shimmers that are both a little bit more like out there and textured. This is a really beautiful tone of kind of like gray brown. Definitely keeping that. And then I have the Santorini eyeshadow palette. This is the first eyeshadow palette that I tried from them. It's kind of like a neutral / colorful palette. We have some interesting blue shimmers in here. We have some kind of like peachy tones. This is not my favorite color story from them. This was just kind of like my introduction to the brand. I do think I'm going to be keeping it for now, but I don't think this is going to stay in my collection forever because the other color stories that I have from them, I do like more. For example, the Z Violetem eyeshadow palette. This is just me in a palette once again. Maybe if we'd had like one really light matte, it would have been like perfect for me, but I really love that we have cool tone neutrals and then in a mix with purples and pinks. I think they did a great job with this palette. This color story is amazing. I really love the packaging as well. Alright, let's get into some Odin's Eye. I have a lot of Odin's Eye. I used to have more, and I haven't bought from them in quite a long time. It's just a brand that I have strayed away from a little bit. I still think they make great things, but often I just feel like I can kind of skip it because I already have a lot. Usually I do buy from their collabs. This is the Mighty Monster palette by Odin's Eye and Annette, and this is their second collab that they did, and we have some neutral tones. We have some kind of like blue tones, purples, reds. We have the shade called Glow Vortex, which is really beautiful. I kind of feel like I can say goodbye to this because this is not a palette I think I'm gonna reach for again. I just kind of feel like it is not exactly making sense for me, and I have so many beautiful palettes that I just feel make me more excited to reach for them. I'm just not exactly in love with this color story, and I just feel like I can give this to someone who's really gonna love this. But then this one, this is the Giant Wolves eyeshadow palette. This palette I don't think I can ever let go of. There is something about this palette. It is just the perfect kind of like marriage between fall and winter. It is a little bit grungy, but also a little bit fresh and cool tone. I really just love the combination of the shades. It is absolutely stunning. I've done so many beautiful looks with this. One of my favorite palettes in my collection, definitely keeping that one. Then I have here the Honest Eye and Angelica Nyquist Hella palette, and this has some really nice kind of like fresher or like fresher. It's a little bit more of a yellowy green corner over here, and then we have some pink tones and some darker tones. I am definitely keeping this, especially for these top 2 rows, which is usually not what I would go for, but there's just something about this. I do love kind of like combining these together and getting something kind of like fresh and springy. So yeah, definitely keeping that. Then I have the Christmas Eve palette by Honest Eye, and this is just such a beautiful palette. Such a interesting color story. You wouldn't say it's neutral, but you also in a way wouldn't say it's like super colorful. It's the grays and the taupes with the blues and then kind of like these murky shades together. That is such an interesting color story. I love the packaging, I love the formulas in here. Absolutely keeping that one. Then I have here the Planet Spirit palette with Betty Jean. This is like the perfect summer palette. We're kind of like those 2-tone looks, doing something very bright. You can also use this multichrome shade to kind of like top over things. This is absolutely beautiful. I really loved all of the summery looks that I've done with this, especially when I just got this in. I definitely want to use this again this summer. Then I have here the Flora Story eyeshadow palette, and this is kind of like muted greens with muted purpley shades. I think this is one where I have to do another look and see if I want to keep it around for longer, because it is really beautiful, but I haven't really used it a lot. I think I want to do another purple look with this. Then this is a Spring Dragon palette with Judy, and this is just one of my absolute favorite pastel eyeshadow palettes. I think it's very soft, it's very like cool tone pastel, and sometimes with pastels it can go a little bit in a direction that is not fully for me. This is more of a like inner corner palette almost for me, but I have done some looks with this as well where I have just used this palette. You do have a deepening up shade. I do really love this green over here. A beautiful palette. And then lastly, I have here the Little Ghost palette by Angelica Nyquist and Honest Eye once again. I really love the blues in here, really love the purples in here. This bottom row isn't really for me. It's a little bit too warm tone, but I definitely see a lot of looks still that I would want to do with this. I do really love like these together, so definitely gonna keep that. And then I have my Lethal Cosmetics palettes, and this collection has grown mostly since they came out with the Avatar Last Airbender collection. Before that I only had some singles in a palette that are now not really together in a palette anymore. We have the Avatar Last Airbender palettes here, and I got 3 of the palettes. I didn't get the fire one because I don't love warm tones that much. This is the one in Air, an absolutely beautiful kind of like neutral color story with a twist. The shimmers in here are stunning. I love these kind of like almost butter yellow tones. I'm not really gonna reach for these 2 again, but I just love the neutral looks that you can do with this. Absolutely stunning formula and palette. Then I have the Water eyeshadow palette, and this is kind of like a blue palette with a little bit of a neutral twist. This is the palette I would go for over that Colourpop Blue Moon eyeshadow palette. I think this has the tones that I would get from the palette, but then also some other shades that make it a little bit more easy to use for me. So definitely keeping that one. By the way, I'm not going to be decluttering any of my Lethal Cosmetics palettes because they're newer in my collection and I really love the formula. This is the Earth palette. This one I bought because I was in line for the Avatar The Last Airbender collection for like 3-4 hours. I don't know exactly how long it was, okay? Maybe it was 2 hours. But I was in line for such a long time and I thought I am not going back. So I'm just gonna throw this in case I regret it later. And there are some really nice colors in here that are actually quite like up my alley. But it's just like these murky greens I wouldn't reach for that much. But I still am happy that I have this palette. It is a really beautiful collection, really beautiful packaging, formulas. Then I have here the Dexter palette. They sent this to me in PR and they came out with this in like the spring, I think. Was it in January? Something like that. We have half reds and half kind of like cool tone neutrals. This is a really cool palette. It's like shaped like the blood slide box from the show. This is just one of the most interesting shimmers I've ever seen in my life. This is Deborah, just very like smoky, sparkly, absolutely gorgeous on the eye. This is such an intense silver. Like, this is an intense palette. This is gonna get you a very intense look. Great formulas, absolutely such a cool palette. Then this is the Lethal Cosmetics Spellcraft eyeshadow palette. This is probably one of my favorite packagings from a palette that I have in my collection. And this has a clasp but it's also magnetized. And this is kind of like a smoky purpley neutral palette with a twist. It goes from pretty light to quite dark. We even have a black in here. The shimmers in here are absolutely beautiful, so stunning. I love what they did with the shimmers. I love all the options that you have here. You get some really nice mauve shades. It just is such a nice kind of like grungy but cool tone palette, and I just love the theme of this. They did a great job with this. I think this is my favorite palette that Lethal Cosmetics has done. Together, I think, with the Air palette, but the Air palette doesn't give me as many options as this palette. This is just absolutely stunning. And then this palette they recently sent me in PR. I do have a video on the Adventure Time collab with all of the things that they sent me. This is a little bit of a like squishy packaging. And when you open it up, by the way, this is the Candy Kingdom eyeshadow palette. When you open it up, it's kind of like a rainbow palette, but it's not truly a rainbow palette. It is more kind of like a pastel palette with some extra shades, with some darker shades, with some things that kind of like build out the looks that you can do. We have once again really beautiful shimmers in here. The looks that I've done with it so far were really beautiful. I've done kind of like a rosy look combining these two, but I've also done a blue look in my like first impression video that was absolutely so good. I loved it so much. I just really love the eyeshadow formula that Lethal Cosmetics has nowadays. I think they do an amazing job. Next up, we have the palettes that I own from Cosmic Beauty. I got into them, I think, last year around the summer. My first order from them was the Cool Trolls and the Neutrals. And these came out at the same time. The Cool Trolls is kind of like a cool toned, well, not kind of like, it is a cool tone palette. It's not super neutral. It is more almost blue with some like mauve tones and some pinks. I think this is a beautiful formula. I thought it all worked really well. These palettes also aren't like super expensive, which I do enjoy from Cosmic Beauty, because there are a lot of brands out there where you have to pay like 100 euros, or like where you have to pay in between like 70 to 100 euros, like easy. And I don't always enjoy that aspect of what is happening in the indie space right now. This is a really beautiful palette. It has a lot of beautiful tones. This is not like the one that I go into the most. I actually go into the neutrals more, which is kind of crazy because I am not that into like warm tones, but this is kind of like giving me what I want. This is giving me kind of like neutral browns. We do have some warmer tones, but it's not all super warm. And then we have kind of like these, I don't know, mauve tones. I love the addition of these two lighter shades up here. I feel like this is a beautiful color story, a little bit interesting, just the type of neutral palette that I go into. And I did a look on my Instagram with the neutrals not too long ago. Then I have here the This the Season palette. I actually got this in way later than the season. I got this in, I think, like the end of December, and I did do a video kind of like a getting ready with me with this palette. I do love what we're getting in this palette. I do think that I love the bottom two rows the most, kind of like these pink tones, and then these purples are absolutely stunning. I have done some neutral looks with this. The greens are also really beautiful, but these warmer tones are a little bit more outside of my comfort zone. But I think this is a very interesting, very nice take on a holiday palette. It's a little like retro, it's giving me the vibes. And then we have their newest palette. This is the Lovers, and I did really enjoy it. It's kind of like half neutral, half colorful. We got some pinky tones, we have some neutral tones, and then we have some blues and greens. I think this is a gorgeous palette, leaning quite cool toned, I would say. We have some really nice kind of like chili shades over here. This is just kind of like earthy without being super murky, which I absolutely love. I think this is gonna end up really high in my yearly eyeshadow palette ranking. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're on to the last brand that I have to show you, and that is gonna be Kiko Milano. So this is my basket of Kiko Milano eyeshadow palettes. I do have quite a lot because I do review Kiko Milano quite a lot. It's kind of like my go-to brand on my channel. Like, it is just the brand that I always review, and I think I always will review on this channel. And I have here the Master eyeshadow palettes 1 and 2, and one of these is kind of more like warm tone and one of these is a little bit more cool tone. This is the warmer toned one, but you can go pretty like neutral with this. It's not super warm tone. We have some really beautiful shimmers in here, some really beautiful satin formulas. This is the best formula in my opinion that Kiko Milano has ever done, and it is in the regular range. So this is the more cool tone version. These are just kind of interesting neutral palettes. I think that this color story in a way is a little bit more interesting because we also have kind of like this more mauvey berry corner over here. But I think they did a lot of like different formulas in here. We go from light to deep. These palettes just make a lot of sense. They are also only like 22 euros, which is a great price. And there's just also a little bit like duochrome action in here. These just create such absolutely beautiful looks. These are some of my favorites when it comes to neutrals in my collection. Then I have here the Gloss Supreme Gloss Dome Multi-Finish Eyeshadow Palette in 01 Over Earth Reflections. And this was from their Gloss Supreme limited edition that they did for the fall. I think this is such an interesting color story. It has kind of like those rosy browns combined with cool tone neutrals and then kind of like pops of lilac, which I think is really interesting. The formulas in here are really beautiful, very kind of like powdery but still creamy and buildable matte, and very interesting shiny shimmers. A great formula. They do not always do their best formulas in their limited editions, and also not always in their regular line. Like sometimes they do pretty dry formulas, but this was a great one. Then I have here a Bridgerton Quad from the Bridgerton collab, and this is the Bridgerton Quartet eyeshadow palette in the shade Ballroom Bliss. And I think this is such a beautiful palette. There is just something about these shimmers and this matte. It just gives such a nice kind of like smoky look. I don't think it's overly warm toned. It's a little bit more on the neutral side. And then this is kind of like more of a smoky purple. This is a stunning formula. I'm definitely keeping that one. Then I have here an eyeshadow duo. I don't know really how that ended up here because this is not really what I count as an eyeshadow palette, but now that I have it here, let's just discuss it. So this is the Create Your Balance Gaze Defining Eyeshadow Duo in 02 Ready Set Go. And this is kind of like a cooler toned taupey brown duo. This is actually quite a nice shimmer. The matte in here I didn't think was amazing. I think I can actually let go of this. I think I'm probably not going to use this again. Then I have here, by the way, I do not only have Kiko Milano in this basket. I forgot I also put Wycon in here because I kind of see them as sort of the same type of brand. Like they're the same brand in a different font. So I have some palettes from the Sarah Sampaio collab and I really enjoyed them. The other two I have over here. This is a great formula. So I have here Dazzling Daydream, which is a little bit more of a warm toned rosy palette. Beautiful shimmers in here, very buildable mattes, a little bit more of the powdery formula. Seems a little bit similar to the formula from the Gloss Supreme eyeshadow palette. This is such a beautiful neutral palette, and this is the type of thing that I would then take traveling with me because these are just a little bit more my tones. And here we have Dazzling Drama. This is a little bit more out there, kind of like smoky purple with a pop of green. This is absolutely stunning. I love the color story here. It's a little bit more out there. And then we have Dazzling Sunset, and this one is a little bit more like neutral browns combined with kind of like golden shimmers. It's a really beautiful palette. I think this was a great collection. I don't feel like it got a lot of hype, but it is really beautiful. Then I have here the Kiko Magnetic Nights Party Glam eyeshadow palette in 01 and Natural Born Elegant, and this is just a very soft, very kind of like basic eyeshadow palette. We have some really nice mattes in here. This shimmer, like, it's just a satin, it's nothing too crazy. And these mattes are quite nice, but I'm kind of thinking I don't really need those. Like I have nice mattes, I have mattes in this color. I think I can actually let go of this one. Then this one I don't think I will let go of very easily. This is the Kiko Milano A Holiday Fable Ethereal eyeshadow palette in 03 Surreal Destination, and this is just an absolutely stunning shimmer formula. Like Kiko Milano, they can really do beautiful, super shiny, super creamy shimmers. This is just absolutely gorgeous. I definitely should get into this a little bit more. This is beautiful. Like I've had it in my collection for a very long time and I have used it a bunch, but it's been a while. Then I have here the Lollipop eyeshadow palette in the cool version from the Wycon Summer Club collection. And this is just my type of palette. It's a small palette. We have some really nice mattes in here. We have some really nice shimmers. This is what I would take with me to travel. Like these are the basic mattes that I would need, and then maybe pop a little bit of this on the lid as well. I am gonna update you on this very soon. I love the look that I did with this in my first impression. Here I have the Kiko Milano Street Heart Collection eyeshadow palette. This was a pretty expensive eyeshadow palette, and then we only have like these small pans, only like 12 really small pans. I was hoping for something a little bit more out there than this was. Like these are really satin. I just feel like color story doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not terrible. You can do a look with it, definitely. But this is not by any means the best eyeshadow formula that I've seen by Kiko Milano. And I think I can declutter this. I was just a little bit disappointed by this. I thought they could do a lot better. And I know that they can do a lot better than this. Then another palette by Kiko Milano that I just fell a little bit flat. So this is the Kind by Kiko eyeshadow palette, and this is just dry and lackluster. It doesn't do much. Like, if you buy it and you love a soft look, it could still be that you enjoy it, but this is really just not for me. So this I'm gonna declutter, and it's gonna end up really low on the ranking. Then I have this eyeshadow palette by Kiko Milano. This is the Glamour Multi-Finish eyeshadow palette in 04, and this I tried before I'd actually tried Kiko Milano eyeshadows that I really enjoy. Like, this was at the start, I think, of last year. This is fine. You can definitely do a pretty cute look with this. It is more interesting than it looks like in the pan. Do I see myself reaching for this one again now that I have the master eyeshadow palettes? The answer is no, so I'm gonna declutter this one. Then I have here the Kiko Beauty Essentials All Shades of Eyeshadow Palette in 02 Earth Sides. And this is once again one that is just absolutely beautiful, and just Kiko can really do it. I keep buying their eyeshadow palettes because if they do it right, they do it amazingly well. This has really creamy, beautiful shimmers. We have some neutral mattes, and the shimmers are just really nice, kind of like yellowy and then pink. This is beautiful. I definitely want to use that one again, but I do realize I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes, and I do want to make a conscious effort to go back into all the palettes, and that is what I've kind of been doing also on Instagram. I've been doing my best to like get that ball rolling. So this is the Kiko Milano Dreamforia Cloud Whisper eyeshadow palette in 02 Fairy Feelings, and this is also a pretty soft, nothing too special, kind of lackluster eyeshadow palette. I saw some potential in this, but it didn't really come to be on the eye. So I actually am going to declutter this one. I have some other products from this collection that I did enjoy more. This is the Kiko Milano eyeshadow palette from the Stella Love collection. This is the Stella Love Cosmic Gaze eyeshadow palette in 02 Under the Starry Sky. I actually think they did an amazing job with this. This is a satin, but it is quite nice and pigmented. We have some really nice shimmers. This lilac shimmer is absolutely beautiful on the eye. I think that the mattes in here work really well and give you like a lot of options. Like, there are 3 mattes, but as you combine it with these shades, you can do something really interesting. So I'm definitely gonna keep this one. I think this is one of the more interesting palettes Kiko Milano has come out with. Then I have here the Blossoming Beauty Enchanting eyeshadow palette. This is some really interesting kind of like muted pink tones. We have some cool tones. We have this kind of like bronzy shade that does have heartburn, but I can still pick it up. This is a beautiful color story, and there's just something about these tones. I don't feel like I can get this effect with anything else. It's very specific. I'm gonna keep this. I think the packaging is also super cute. This is the Kiko Milano Gold Reflections eyeshadow palette that I have, and this is in 01 Golden Sunrise. This actually has really beautiful bronzy shimmers. There's some satin shades that are not super interesting, but some of these shades are just amazing, and you can get kind of like a nice bronzy look. I do like the packaging of this and the vibe of this, so I'm gonna be keeping this one. Then I have here the Kiko Milano Holiday Wonderlights Festive Flash eyeshadow palette, and this eyeshadow palette is not bad. It's kind of like in the middle. Like, it's not one of their best, but it's also not one of their worst. It's not super dry. You can do a pretty cute look with this. We do have an addition of this kind of like teal shade, but I don't think I need to keep this, so I think I'm gonna actually declutter this one. Okay, another eyeshadow palette by Wycon. This is the Cool Gems eyeshadow palette, and I actually think this is quite a nice palette. It's cool toned. We have some really beautiful shades, some really beautiful shimmers. The only thing that I would say is that this matte doesn't really blend that well, which makes this palette a little bit harder to use, but there's a lot going on here which is really beautiful. I wouldn't say buy this full price. I would say maybe get it on a sale, because the 50 euros that it originally was, I don't think is worth it with this being a dot shade. But besides that, I've had a great time with this palette, and I think it's actually really beautiful. Then I have here the Spring Break eyeshadow palette, and this is from their Vichy Garden Spring collection, and this is such a beautiful eyeshadow palette. It is a very soft, very muted, very grayed out pastel palette, and I have had a lot of fun with this. We have some really beautiful shimmers. We have some duochromes and some sparkly shades. You can do do kind of like a cool tone neutral look, but you can also go a little bit more like soft, a purple or blue. This is kind of like a neutral adjacent palette because it is so soft and I just have had the best time with it. I just don't feel like I have a palette quite like this that is pastel but went so great out, and I think that's really interesting. I don't think it's gonna be for everyone. I think it's gonna be ashy on a lot of people if you're more warm toned, if you have a darker skin tone, but for me this was actually great. Like if you're a soft summer, I think this is an amazing palette. And then I have two more palettes from Kiko Milano. One of them is the Emma Roberts x Kiko Milano, and I think this is a pretty cute palette, but in the end I do think that it is quite soft. If you're after a softer look, I think you can enjoy this. I just feel like these shades all don't look like super different on the eye. It's just not giving me as much variation as I would think from these different colored rows. It's just a pretty basic neutral palette in like a pretty cute packaging, but nothing too special. I'm still gonna update you on this one. And then lastly, I have here the Kiko Milano Gold Reflections, and apparently it broke. I don't know when that happened. Wow. I don't think I've ever had this happen to me. Is it this way around? I think so. Okay, let's put you back in there. Oh, it broke again. It broke more. Shit. Okay, let me try and push that back. I think once it is pushed back, it probably will stay. It's very snug in there. Okay, I think we're pretty much fine. Okay, crisis averted, I think, I hope. Okay, this is a palette that they came out with in the spring this year. And it is a little bit one-noted, but you can go a little bit more purple or a little bit more like truly bronzy. These shimmers on the side are quite like sparkly, a little bit chunky, but you can make them stick to the eye very well with the glitter glue. This one is a bit more smooth. I'm gonna see if this survives my eyeshadow palette drawer. If it doesn't, I might declutter it in the end, but for now I think it's a pretty nice palette. I think I'm gonna keep it around. But yeah, a little bit of a bummer that happened. Like, I am pretty careful with my eyeshadow palettes. I don't throw them around, they don't fall on the ground, so I don't really know what happened there. Okay, so these are all the eyeshadow palettes I am decluttering. There are 20 eyeshadow palettes in this basket, which is actually a really great number for me. Usually I'm around like 10, 15. I don't like to be like super cutthroat with decluttering because it's my collection. I bought most of these and I do enjoy having a little bit of a bigger collection. Okay, that's gonna be it for my eyeshadow palette collection and declutter. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.